We will start new chapter, heat exchangers. So a heat exchanger is an apparatus, or you can say it is an equipment in which the process of heating or cooling occurs. Okay, so the heat is transferred from one fluid which is being cooled to another fluid being heated. Okay, so examples are boilers, okay, condensers, furnaces, okay, evaporators. Okay, so they all are heat exchangers of some type. They are designed for some specific purpose, but primarily they are to transfer heat from one fluid to another. Okay, so the transfer of heat in an exchanger between two fluids carried out either by direct contact of fluids, okay, or by transmission through a wall, by transmission through a wall separating the fluid. Okay, so and this the second one, these are called as, so the direct one, these are called direct contact heat exchangers. Direct contact heat exchangers. And the second one, they are called as regenerators or recuperators or surface exchangers. Okay, so in direct contact, so what happened in direct contact, so in direct contact heat exchangers, the process of heat transfer, right, the process of heat transfer occurs through direct contact. Through direct contact and mixing of the hot and cold fluids. Okay, so usually the heat transfer in this is accompanied by mass transfer. Okay, usually mass transfer takes place because we are mixing the hot and cold fluids. It's direct contact. Okay, now these heat exchangers are used in cases where mixing of two fluids is either harmless or desirable, right? So examples, you can say the examples of this are water cooling towers, water cooling towers, and jet condensers. Okay, so these are the examples of direct contact heat exchangers. Okay, so the most common exchangers are the second type recuperators, which we called. Okay, in this both hot and cold fluids separated from each other by a wall. Okay, uh, so there is a wall separation here. So let me, this is the second one. So in second one, suppose this is a wall of the, okay, so one fluid one is here on one side, and fluid second is on the other side of the wall. Okay, so heat transfer, so there is no direct contact here, so heat is transferred through this wall. Okay, so the heat transfer process in this consists of you know convection, between the fluid and wall. Okay, then conduction through the wall, right? So first convection is here on this side, then the conduction through the wall, and then again convection between the wall and the other fluid. Okay, so in this case the temperature difference between a wall and the fluid is large. Okay, in case, okay, so in case if the temperature difference between the fluid and the wall is very large, so radiation heat exchange may also occur. Okay, so if it is not large, we can neglect that radiation heat exchange. Okay, so some examples of this type of heat exchangers are air preheater of boiler plant. So in the boiler plant there is a air preheater, so air preheater, we use this type of heat exchanger. Then another example is the radiator of a motor car. Okay, and another example is evaporator of an ice plant. Okay, also milk chiller is also a heat exchanger, milk chiller of a pasteurizing plant. Okay, so these are some of the examples of this type of heat exchanger recuperators. Okay, heat exchanger types. Okay, so heat exchangers are generally classified according to the direction of flow of the hot and cold fluids, okay, with respect to each other, or according to the temperature distribution of the two fluid along the exchanger length. So we have these types. First, parallel flow, according to the directions. Parallel flow heat exchanger. Second, counter flow heat exchanger. Third one is the cross flow heat exchanger. Fourth is the condenser or evaporator, evaporators. Okay, so let's discuss the first one, parallel flow heat exchanger. Okay, so in this type of heat exchanger, the hot and cold fluid flow in the same direction, right? So hot fluid and cold fluid. So this is hot fluid and cold fluid. They flow in the same direction. Okay, so that's why we name it as a parallel flow. Okay, so if we have to draw the figure, suppose this is a pipe, double pipe, and this is a outer, outer annular ring here. Okay, so suppose this is a double pipe heat exchanger and one fluid is flowing inside the inner pipe. Okay, and another fluid is flowing in the annular space between the two pipes. Suppose here, let me draw with another. This is the second fluid. Okay, so these both fluids are in the same direction. Okay, so we call it as a parallel flow heat exchanger. So and this is the straight pipe. We can draw a line diagram also. Suppose so we are denoting this as, suppose this is the temperature of the uh, suppose inside fluid is hot, so temperature of the hot fluid, let me write with white. So temperature of the hot fluid, and this is the temperature of the hot fluid going out, so T1 and T2, and temperature of the cold fluid T1 at the entrance, TC2 at the exit. Okay, if we have to draw the line diagram, so this is how the line diagram will look like. So this is T hot, TH1, TH2. So TH1 is the entrance. 1 we are denoting with entrance and 2 we are denoting it with exit. So 1 is subscript 1 is entrance and subscript 2 is exit. So T hot, temperature of the hot fluid at entrance, TH1. Okay, and suppose this is cold and this is cold one. So TC1 and TC2. So this is also a parallel. If you see the overall direction, so this is parallel flow, because if you see the direction of cold and hot, it is on the right hand side, left to right. This is also parallel flow. Okay, and if you want to draw the temperature distribution, so temperature distribution will be, suppose this y-axis is temperature and this is area. What do you mean by area? Area is the surface area. Okay, so when surface area is 0, that means it's the entrance, because at the entrance, if you see the above figure, this is the entrance, right? And this is the exit. So entrance 1 and exit is 2. So at entrance there is no area, at the entrance there is no length, surface area is 0, and at the exit, suppose the length is L, So it's covering whole area A. Suppose area is total area is A. Okay. So if you draw the temperature lines, so suppose this is length L, so covering area, total area A, so area is A. Okay. So this is the exit. Okay. Dotted line is the exit, and this is origin is the entrance. So temperature of the at cold fluid at the entrance, it is somewhere here, and at the exit it will rise, right? Temperature of the cold fluid will rise, so it will be like this. Okay. And temperature of the hot is somewhere here, and it will, the temperature at the exit of the hot fluid will decrease, so it will be like this. So TH1, this is TC1, this is TC2, and this is TH2. Okay, so you can do one thing, don't denote with the small t, denote with a capital T. So let me write capital T everywhere, capital T. Okay, and this also, capital TC1, TC1, TC2, TC2, TC2. Okay, so we're denoting temperature with a capital T. Usually we denote small t with time, so we'll denote with capital T. So this is how these figures will look like for the parallel flow. Now come to the okay, what are the examples usually for the parallel flow? So water heaters, they work on the parallel flow generally. So examples, water heater. Okay, what else? Oil heater. Okay, oil coolers. So these are some of the examples where parallel flow heat exchange type of heat exchangers are there. Okay, now coming to the second one, counter flow heat exchangers. So in this case, the two fluid flow through the exchanger in opposite direction, hence the name counter flow is there. So a common type of counter flow arrangement is shell and tube. So we'll draw a shell and tube. So in, suppose this is a outer one is the shell. Okay, it will look like a double pipe, but it's a shell, and the inner one is the tube. Okay, so in this one the fluid will go, the hot fluid which is at temperature TH, this is the entrance, so 1, and out will be THO or 2, you can say 1 and 2. And in the annular space, the cold fluid will flow in the opposite direction. Okay, in the opposite direction. Or let me draw with a different color. So this is in the opposite direction, the cold fluid, that is entrance is here TC1, and it is counter flow, so TC1 is on the right side and TC2 on the left side. Okay, so this is how it will look. And if you draw the line diagram, so this is hot fluid going on the left to right, TH1, TH2, and cold fluid will be going from here on the opposite direction, TC1, and this is TC2. Okay, so left to right, so if you see left to right, let me change left to right, hot fluid, and right to left is cold fluid flowing. Okay, cold fluid. Okay, and if you draw the temperature distribution for this counterflow, so it will look like this is the temperature, this is area, suppose this is the exit, to surf, and this is the entrance at the origin 1. So the cold, see, hot fluid will be at higher temperature, cold fluid will be at lower temperature, so will be, so this is TH1, left to right, is flowing left to right, so TH1, and this is TH2, and then the cold fluid is flowing from the opposite direction, so it is something like this. Okay, so TC1 in the left hand side and TC2 here. Okay, so this will be like this, and I have forgot to make an arrow here. Okay, so the temperature distribution will look like this figure. Okay, so we can draw shell and tube like this also. Let me draw. So this is the pipe. Okay, and shell we can draw like this. So this is shell. So hot fluid, suppose it's going like this in the outer shell, TH1, and hot fluid is going out, TH2, so it's going from left to right. Okay, hot fluid, and cold fluid is right to left, suppose TC1 and TC2, so it's a counterflow shell and tube, so it is shell and tube heat exchanger. Okay, and if you want to draw in a line diagram, okay, so it's actually single pass heat exchanger, shell and tube heat exchanger, so there are multiple pass heat exchanger also. Okay, so what is single pass and what is multiple pass heat exchanger? So single pass, we call it as a single pass if the fluid, let me and draw single pass heat exchanger. So this shell and tube, whatever the diagram I have showed, is a single pass. So single pass heat exchanger is if the fluid flow through the exchanger only once. Okay, it is called single pass. Okay, so in many designs, one fluid or both the fluids, may traverse the exchanger more than once. Okay, so such type of exchangers are called as multi-pass. So we have another type like multi-pass heat exchangers. Okay, so multi-pass heat exchangers in which both the fluid or one of the fluid in the exchangers, travel more than once. So examples of multi-pass is 1-2 exchanger, we call it. So 1-2 exchanger, wherever 1-2 exchanger is written, it means that it's one shell pass and two tube pass. Okay, if it is written 2-4 exchanger heat exchanger, so it means two shell. So first digit is the shell for shell, and second digit is for the tube. So two shell pass and four tube passes. Okay, so if we have to draw a diagram for 1-2 exchanger, so let me draw. So this is shell. Okay, this outer cover is the shell. Okay, and tube is going something like, I'm drawing a line diagram for tube. So tube is making two passes. So in this one shell, tube is making two passes, one like this and second pass is like this. Okay, so there are two passes in the tube, and in shell there is only one pass. If the fluid is coming from this side, suppose this is temperature of this shell at entrance 1, temperature of this shell at exit 2, so it is left to right only, just one pass. And in the tube, so this is the temperature, suppose T1, and this is the temperature at the exit T2, and it's making now T1 and T2. Suppose upper one is its entrance, right? T1, this is T2. Okay, so this type of heat exchanger is 1-2 exchanger. Okay, and how about 2-4? How 2-4 temperature will look like? So 2-4 exchanger will look like, so this is shell. Okay, I have drawn shell, so it has two shell passes. Suppose the temperature of the shell at 1, entrance is here and exit is here, right? So T has 2, so you can clearly see, and let me draw with a different. So fluid will go like this one time, then like this second time. Okay, so this is shell in green color. Shell pass है ना, left to right and right to left. Okay, so two shell and four tube will be like this. Suppose, and it's a counter. If we have to make it as a counter, so it will be like this. Okay, so it's entering here, is going this side. So in one, this in the lower shell it's making two paths, in upper shell it's making two paths. Okay, so temperature T1, the tube 1, and temperature of tube 2 at the end, at the exit 2. Okay, so this type of uh, heat exchanger is 2-4 exchanger. Okay, this is 2-4 exchangers, so it will look like this. Okay, so the temperature difference between the two fluids remains more nearly constant as compared to the parallel flow type. Okay, so in counter flow heat exchanger, temperature difference between the two fluid remains more or nearly constant, okay, as compared to the parallel flow. Okay, so you can see from the figure also, in temperature distribution, see this uh, this is difference is almost constant here, temperature difference between the two fluids. And if you see the parallel flow, see the temperature at the entrance is temperature difference at the entrance is very large, and temperature, and therefore when you move along the exchanger, temperature difference is going very small, is getting decreased, right? So in counterflow, that's why counterflow is also better, because the temperature difference is almost constant along the length of the exchanger. Okay, so that's why counterflow exchangers are the most favorable devices for heating or cooling of fluids, because for a given surface area, these exchangers give the maximum heat transfer rate. Okay, so this point you need to remember. Okay, so counterflow exchangers are most favorable device for heating or cooling of fluids, because for a given surface area, these type of heat exchangers give maximum heat transfer rate. Okay, now coming to the next one, that is cross flow exchangers. Cross flow heat exchangers. So this is the third one. So this type of exchangers is, in this one, the two fluids flow at right angles to each other. If one fluid is flowing like this, so another fluid will flow, this is one, so second fluid will flow at right angle to first one. So two different arrangement of this type of exchanger can be seen in one, in first type of arrangement. Each of the fluid is unmixed as it flows through the exchanger. That is the first type of exchanger. So let me try to draw how it looks, that arrangement will look like. So it will be something like, like this. Okay, and so there are baffles here. And these are the baffles. Okay, and these are something like this. So it actually I'm drawing a radiator. You know, you have seen these type of radiators in the cars. We have a cross flow arrangement there. Okay, cross flow heat exchangers are there. So gas, one fluid, suppose one fluid is gas and it is coming in this. Okay, is flowing here in this baffles. Okay, and this second baffles is like this. Okay, so here in this second one, air flow is flowing, air is flowing. Okay, airflow. So you see the gas and the air, they are flowing at a right angle to each other, and whatever the gas is flowing, they are not mixed with each other. So okay, so one of the gas is flowing in the first chamber, and another gas is flowing in this chamber. So these two chambers, so these gases are not mixed, they are unmixed. So that's why this is the first type of arrangement, okay, for cross flow, in which the fluids is unmixed as it flows through the exchanger. So as a result of this, what happened, the temperature of the fluid leaving the exchanger are not uniform. Okay, so this is an example of an automobile radiator, and this is cross flow heat exchanger. This is the one arrangement for the cross flow heat exchanger. Another example, another arrangement for the heat flow exchanger is, see in this one, none of them is mixed. Each fluid is unmixed. In the second one is, one fluid is perfectly mixed while the other is unmixed. So let me write here. In this, each fluid is unmixed. Okay, and in the second, this case is one fluid is perfectly mixed and other is unmixed. So let me draw a figure for that also. Okay, suppose this is a box and we have tubes here. Let me draw a tubes. So we have tubes like this in the box. Okay, so actually if you see from the front side, you will see the holes, and these are the tubes. Okay, so one air is flowing like this, and it's coming out from here. Okay, and another hot gases, that is the, let me name as air. These are air and hot gases. So hot gases are flowing in these tubes. So in these tube, hot gases. So they both are flowing in the right angle to each other. Okay. So in this one, you see the hot gases, they are not mixed, they are unmixed, and air is getting mixed. It's flowing over the tubes, right? It's flowing over the tubes, so air are getting mixed in between. So in this one, fluid is perfectly mixed, and in this one, in this example, air, that fluid is air that is perfectly mixed, and other is unmixed, and the other one is the hot gases that is unmixed. Okay, so this is also a cross flow heat exchanger. Okay, so that's all for today. We'll deal with the condenser or evaporator in the next class. Thank you.